He claimed it meant nothing. But that night, when his hand found mine beneath the blanket, he held it, like he'd been waiting for a lifetime. My heart knew the truth, long before he ever spoke a word. He loved me. He just couldn't say it out loud, not with my brother sleeping just 6 feet away. A forbidden love. Welcome to my channel. Today's story is about the boy I was never supposed to love, my brother's best friend. Let's begin. I never planned to fall for Camden Reed. He was the kind of guy who moved through life effortlessly, listly as murking his way through math, catching passes on the football field like he was simply made for it. And he was always around. He'd been my brother Beau's best friend since middle school. At first, he was just that. Beau's loud, cocky, messy best friend who never knocked and left Dorito dust on the couch. But last summer, something shifted. It started with a weird quiet between us. He stopped treating me like Beau's annoying little brother. He started looking at me not like a joke, not like I was invisible, but like I was someone he hadn't expected to notice, and now couldn't stop noticing. The quiet in the dark. I remember the exact moment everything changed. It was July. We were up at Lake Crescent, just me, Beau, and Camden. My parents were away, so the three of us crashed at the family cabin for the weekend. That night, Beau passed out early, headphones still on. Camden and I stayed up, watching a cheesy old horror movie that neither of us really cared about. The room was dim, lit only by the soft blue flicker of the screen. Somewhere between a bad jump scare and the opening of a second soda, he said it. "You're not how I remember you." I blinked at him. "What do you mean?" He gave a small, genuine smile. "You're older now, different, quiet, but in a good way. You don't try so hard anymore." I wanted to say something clever back, but I just stared. My stomach was doing backflips because this was Camden. Camden, who only ever joked around. Camden, who dated cheerleaders on rotation. Camden, who was supposed to be straight, and definitely not someone I could let myself feel anything for. But I did. And that night, when our fingers brushed beneath the blanket, he didn't pull away. He gripped mine, holding on tight, like my hand was the only thing holding him together. Neither of us said a word. The room was silent, save for the hum of the TV and Beau's soft snoring in the next bed. We sat there, fingers tangled, both pretending we didn't feel the electricity crawling up our arms. I could hear my heart pounding in my ears. But in that moment, I wasn't scared. I felt seen. That the secret texts the next morning, he acted like nothing happened. He didn't mention it. Didn't look at me the same. Didn't touch me. I convinced myself I was overthinking it. Maybe I wanted it so badly I'd imagined everything. But 2 days later, when we got home, my phone buzzed. Camden. Just one line. That night meant something. I stared at the screen for hours. I didn't reply. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't know how. This wasn't some random guy. This was Camden, my brother's best friend. The one person who was never supposed to see me this way. I couldn't figure out if that message was a beginning or a terrible mistake. The next few weeks were a blur of late-night texts, usually one-liners. "I keep thinking about you. I can't stop replaying that moment. I don't know what this means." I didn't know either, but I felt everything, and that terrified me. At school, he was still the normal, loud, flirty football guy. But in the quiet moments, when Beau wasn't looking, he'd glance at me like he was trying to say all the things he couldn't with words. I hated that I started living for those looks. I'd walk into the kitchen and find him there with Beau, and my entire body would go tense, not because I was scared he'd ignore me, but because I was scared he wouldn't. Every time he came over, every time he sat a little too close or brushed his fingers against mine, reaching for the remote, my world tilted. I knew we were heading toward something we couldn't take back, and I didn't know if I wanted to stop it, or if I even could. The walls closing in. There's a kind of tension that refuses to leave your chest, a knot you can't untie. That's what being around Camden became. The more I tried to ignore what happened, the heavier the secret got. You can't pretend you don't know how it felt when you've held someone's hand in the dark. 2 weeks after the cabin, Camden stopped texting. Not completely, but the messages slowed. A day turned into 3, then 5, then silence. I told myself it was better. He probably realized it was just a one-time late-night confusion. Maybe he regretted it. Maybe he was scared Bo would find out. I tried to delete the texts. I couldn't. Then one afternoon, I walked into my house and saw him sitting on the kitchen counter, laughing at something on Bo's phone like nothing had ever happened. He looked up at me. His smile faltered just for half a second, but I saw it. And then, just as quickly, it was gone. He nodded at me like I was a random acquaintance. "Hey man." That's all he said. Just "hey man." I wanted to scream. I turned to go upstairs, pretending I didn't care. But then I heard his voice behind me. Lower, quieter. "Tanner, can we talk?" I stopped. My heart didn single quotes, T.Bo had walked into the garage. Camden stood there, eyes flicking to the door, then back to me. Just real quick, I followed him into the backyard. The air was still, the sun too bright. Everything looked normal, but nothing felt that way. He didn't speak right away. Just shoved his hands in his hoodie pockets and stared at the grass. "I've been thinking a lot." I waited. "About what we're doing, or what we did." He exhaled hard. "This is all messed up, man." "Yeah," I said softly. "Because of my brother. Because of everything. You, me, him. People talk. People assume. My dad would flip if he knew I was even." He broke off. I didn't need him to finish. "If he knew I was even into guys. If he knew I was even into you." He looked up finally. "But the thing is, I think about that night every damn day. Like it's stuck in my brain. I've never had anything feel like that before, and it scares the hell out of me." There it was. Real, unfiltered, honest. I swallowed. "I don't want to be your secret, Cam." He flinched. "I'm not trying to make you one." "Yeah, but that's exactly what this is. We talk when no one's around. We touch when no one's looking. And the second my brother walks into the room, I don't even exist to you." He stepped closer. "That's not true." "It feels true." Silence. His jaw clenched. He looked like he wanted to punch something, or cry, or both. "I just don't know how to do this, Tanner. I don't know how to be this version of me in front of people. I've spent years pretending to be someone else, and you make it impossible to keep pretending." That line hit me like a brick. You make it impossible to keep pretending. We didn't touch that day. We didn't hug or kiss. But I saw the battle in his eyes. One part of him wanted to run. The other was already halfway in love with me. The gut punch a few days later was Bo's birthday. Big party. People everywhere. Music too loud. The living room packed. I stayed on the edge of it all, drink in hand, half watching Camden joke with the other football guys. He hadn't looked at me all night, not once. And then it happened. Some girl, I think her name was gone, wrapped her arms around his neck and kissed him right in the middle of the room. I felt it like a gut punch. He didn't push her away. He didn't kiss her back either, but he let it happen. And I just stood there like an idiot, holding my plastic cup, trying not to fall apart. I left early. I didn't even say goodbye. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. "Camden, come outside." I looked out my window. He was in his car across the street, headlights off. I didn't want to go, but of course, I did. I slid into the passenger seat. The car smelled like spearmint and sweat. He looked wrecked. "I didn't kiss her back," he said immediately. I didn't say anything. She did it out of nowhere. It didn't mean anything. My voice was tight. "Yeah, well, neither did we, right?" His face twisted. "Tanner, don't do that." "Why not?" "It's what you've been doing for weeks, acting like it didn't happen." "Because I'm scared." Okay, he hit the steering wheel. "I'm scared of what this means. I'm scared of losing Bo. Of losing everything." I was quiet for a long moment. Then I looked right at him. "You're scared of losing everything. But I've been scared of never having anything real at all." He didn't say anything after that. Just stared straight ahead. But when I opened the car door to leave, he reached for my hand and didn't let go. Unraveling, there's only so long you can live in hiding before the walls start closing in. And for me and Camden, Those walls felt tighter with every passing day. After the party, something shifted. He didn't kiss me, didn't even try. But from that night on, he stopped pretending. He'd come over and actually talk to me. Like, really talk, ask me how my day was. Not in passing, but like he genuinely meant it. He'd linger in the kitchen when Bo wasn't around. Touch my shoulder when he passed behind me. He was still careful, but not invisible anymore. For a while, I let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, this could be something real. Then one Saturday afternoon, everything began to unravel. Bo was in the garage fixing his old Mustang. Camden and I were inside, watching a game on mute, sitting too close on the couch, not touching but close. Our knees brushed a few times. Neither of us moved away. We were laughing at some ridiculous commercial when Bo walked in to grab water. He paused. His eyes flicked from me, to Camden, to the couch, then back to me. What's so funny? His voice was light, but his expression WASN. Single quotes, T. Camden sat up a little straighter. Just this stupid pizza ad. Guy puts pineapple on a steak, he said quickly. Bo smirked, grabbed his bottle, and headed back toward the garage. But before he disappeared, he glanced back at me, just for a second. I felt it, that flicker of suspicion. That cold, quiet ... What if that night, Camden texted me? Did he seem off to you? I stared at the message, heart pounding. It wasn't just in my head. I typed and deleted 3 times before sending. Yeah, he ... knows something. Camden, what do we do? I didn't answer, because the truth was, I had no idea. The next couple of days were strange. Bo was still joking, eating half the fridge, playing Xbox until 2 a.m., but every time Camden walked into a room, something in my brother's face changed. He watched more, spoke less. One night, when I came downstairs for water, I froze just behind the kitchen door. I heard them talking on the porch. Their voices were low, serious. Bo, I feel like you've been distant lately, man. You good? Camden asked. Yeah, just stress. School, football, right, that it? A pause. Camden, what else would it be? Another pause. Longer. Bo. I don't know. You tell me? Something inside me dropped. I crept back upstairs before they noticed. I couldn't sleep that night. My chest was tight, my mind racing. I kept playing scenarios. What if Bo knew? What if he confronted me? What if he told our parents? Camden texted me at 2:04 a.m. Can't sleep. I replied instantly. Same, you're okay? No. A moment later, my phone buzzed again. Meet me in 10 minutes. Your back fence. I threw on a hoodie and slipped out the back door. He was already there, leaning against the fence like he had 1,000 things to say, but didn't know where to start. We didn't talk at first. We just stood in the dark. He looked exhausted, eyes heavy, shoulders low. I can't keep doing this, he finally said. I held my breath. Not like this. Not hiding. Not jumping every time your brother looks at us too long. He turned to me. I want to be able to look at you when other people are around. To talk to you without my voice shaking. I swallowed hard. Then what are you saying? He stepped closer. His voice cracked. I'm saying I'm ready to stop pretending. But if I do this, if we do this, so I need you to be all in. I nodded slowly. I already am. He exhaled like the words were oxygen. Then, finally, he kissed me. Really kissed me. Not in the dark, not under a blanket, but right there under the stars. With the crickets chirping and the whole world still turning, and just for a moment, it felt like it was ours, but peace never lasts. Not when secrets are about to break open. The sketchbook. 2 days later, Bo found my sketchbook. I always kept it buried deep under clothes in my bottom drawer, but I'd left it out just once. I'd been drawing that morning a quick sketch of Camden, just his face, shaded, personal. I forgot to put it away. Bo found it while looking for a charger. I walked in to see him holding it, staring at the page. His expression was unreadable. Is this Camden? My mouth went dry. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. He looked at me. really looked, and I felt everything I'd been terrified of reflected back at me. Hurt, shock, confusion, betrayal. Are you with him? The silence between us said everything. Are you with him? Beau's voice wasn't loud. It wasn't angry. That somehow made it worse. It was quiet, wounded, like the question had already answered itself. I couldn't lie. Not anymore. I didn't say yes. I just stood there, frozen, throat dry, hands shaking. While he held my sketchbook like it was something he didn't want to be holding, his eyes dropped back down to the drawing. He ran a thumb across the page, as if the smudged pencil lines might disappear if he touched them hard enough. Since when? His voice cracked on the second word. I finally spoke. Since the lake. He blinked, then looked at me again. That long, I nodded. And you didn't think I deserved to know? That hurt, because part of me did want to tell him. But I knew this moment would be exactly what it was. A mess of guilt, shame, and disappointment. You're my brother, Beau, and he's your best friend. What was I supposed to do? Just say, hey, by the way, I'm falling for the guy you basically grew up with. His jaw clenched. You should have trusted me. That landed like a punch, because he was right. But what he didn't understand was that I didn't even trust myself most days. How could I expect him to carry something I wasn't strong enough to carry alone? He handed me back the sketchbook and left the room without another word. I didn't see him for the rest of the night, not even at dinner. And not the next morning. The reckoning, but Camden showed up early, before school, unannounced. I was sitting on the porch steps, sipping cold coffee, my heart still racing from the night before. He walked up, hoodie on, hands in pockets. He knows. I nodded. Yeah, what did he say? Nothing. That was the worst part. Camden sat beside me, close but not touching. Do you regret it? I looked over at him. His face was pale, tired, his eyes bloodshot, like he hadn't slept either. No, I don't regret you. He let out a breath he'd been holding for weeks. Tanner. Then he reached for my hand right there in daylight. No hiding, no checking over his shoulder. Just his hand and mine. I didn't pull away, and I didn't look around to see who might be watching. Because for once, I didn't care. That afternoon, Beau came home early. Camden was still over, helping me rearrange my shelves so I could finally hang my sketches. Beau walked in. We froze. Camden stepped back instinctively. I hated that. Beau looked at both of us, his face unreadable. Camden, can I talk to you? Camden nodded and followed him out to the porch. I watched from the window. It wasn't yelling. It wasn't fists. But it was intense. Camden kept looking down. Beau paced once, then stopped, putting his hands on his hips like he was trying to ground himself. Then Camden said something, one sentence, and Beau's whole body shifted. I stepped outside. What did you say? I asked after Camden had walked off. Beau looked at me, quiet for a second. He told me he loves you. My breath caught. He said he didn't plan it. Didn't even understand it at first, but it's real. He wasn't messing with you or lying to me. He's just been scared. We stood there, silence folding over us. Then Beau looked me dead in the eyes. You know what pisses me off the most? I braced myself. It's not that you're gay. It's not even that it's him. It's that neither of you thought I'd handle it. My chest tightened. I just didn't want to lose you. His expression softened. You didn't lose me, man. But damn, you made me feel like I didn't matter. That broke me a little. I stepped forward. I'm sorry. I really am. He nodded, swallowing hard. I just need time. Not to be okay with it, I already am. But to wrap my head around the fact that my best friend's in love with my brother. That's new. We both half laughed. Awkward and painful, but real. He better not break your heart, Beau added. He already has, I said. Then he better fix it. A new kind of storm that night. Camden came back. We sat on the back steps again, knees touching. The quiet between us settled now. I turned to him. You told him you love me? He looked at me, unflinching. Yeah, did you mean it? He smiled, small, real, soft. I didn't mean to fall for you, Tanner, but I did. Hard. I rested my head on his shoulder, and for once, Nothing about it felt like a secret. After Camden told Bo the truth, something in me shifted. Not just relief, but something deeper. For the first time, I didn't feel like I was waiting for the floor to drop. We weren't hiding anymore. But that didn't mean it got easier. At school, people talk, and small towns like ours don't forget. It started slow. A couple of stares in the hallway. A whispered, "Is that the Blake kid with Camden Reed?" One guy on the football team asked him, loud enough for others to hear, "So, you switching teams now?" Cam just stared at him. Didn't laugh. Didn't joke it off. He just said, "Say it again. I dare you." Nobody said it again, but the silence after was just as loud by the end of that week. Camden stopped getting invited to hangouts. People who used to cheer his name every Friday night barely nodded at him. His teammates got awkward in the locker room. He started skipping lunch and eating in his truck, and I hated it. I hated that he chose me, and it was costing him everything. One afternoon, we were sitting in that same truck in the school parking lot. The sun had dipped just behind the trees. The world felt like it was holding its breath. He didn't even look at me when he said it. "I don't know if I can keep doing this." My chest went tight. "You mean us?" He shook his head. "No, I mean this. This place. These people. The weight of it all. I thought coming out would be some big moment where I finally felt free, but it just feels like I opened a door, and now I'm standing in a storm." I didn't know what to say, because I saw what he was going through. He was falling apart in slow motion, and I couldn't stop it. "I'm tired, Tanner." That sentence nearly broke me, because Camden Reed wasn't the type to say that. He was the guy who pushed through everything. Until now. Later that night, Bo knocked on my door. He didn't say much, just walked in and sat on the edge of my bed. "You guys okay?" I shrugged. "Not really." He nodded slowly, then looked at me with something I hadn't seen in his eyes since this whole thing started. Understanding. Cam's always been the one who kept me out of fights. The one who covered for me when I wrecked Mum's car. The guy who stayed with me at the hospital when I broke my wrist. He's been more than a best friend. I waited. And if you're the person he's willing to lose everything for, then I guess you're worth it. He's worth it, too, I whispered. Bo smiled, small and sad. Then don't let him forget that. The next day was Friday game night. Even though Camden wasn't starting anymore, he still suited up. Coach had said something about team image, about not needing distractions. It was all about optics, but Camden showed up anyway. He laced his cleats, stood on the sideline, and didn't say a word. At halftime, the team was losing. The quarterback had sprained his ankle. The crowd was tense. Coach looked like he was out of options. That's when Camden stepped forward. "Put me in." Coach hesitated. "You sure?" "I'm not quitting because people are uncomfortable." Coach nodded once. "All right, go." When he ran onto the field, the stadium was dead quiet. Not because he wasn't ready, but because they didn't know what to do with him anymore. Their Camden had changed. But he didn't flinch. He played with fire in his blood. Second throw, a 40-yard pass. Next drive, he ran it in himself. The crowd slowly started to roar again, like they had to remember how he was electric, alive, like himself again. When he scored the final touchdown, he didn't raise his arms. He didn't pound his chest. He looked up at the bleachers, right at me, and smiled. It wasn't for them. It was for me, in front of the whole world. After the game, I waited by the back gate near the locker rooms. He walked out, helmet under one arm, sweat still dripping down his neck. Before I could say a word, he dropped his gear and wrapped his arms around me right there in the open. No hesitation. No fear. I heard a few people gasp. A couple of claps. One guy even shouted, "Let's go, Reed." But I didn't care, because in that moment, he chose me. Not in secret, not in darkness, but in front of the whole damn world. Later, as we sat on the tailgate of Bo's truck, his head resting on my shoulder, I whispered, "That was brave." He smiled. "So are you. You didn't run." "I would have if you hadn't grabbed my hand first." I laced his fingers with mine. "Then, I'm never letting go." Some stories don't end with fireworks. They end with peace. With soft mornings. With no more hiding. And that's exactly what being with Camden became, peace. Things didn't magically get better overnight. But everything changed that night anyway. Because when he grabbed me in front of everyone, when he held me like he wasn't afraid anymore, he gave people permission to stop pretending, to. Some still whispered, some still stared, but others didn't. And that was enough. The broken corners, my parents took it better than I expected. Way better than Camden's. My mum cried a little, not because she was upset, but because she was scared for me. "Are you happy?" she asked. I nodded. Then, nothing else matters. My dad didn't say much, but later that night, he came into my room, ruffled my hair, and said, "Cam's always been like a second son. Guess now, he really is." That stuck with me. Camden's family wasn't the same. His dad stopped talking to him, told him to figure his life out, and stop embarrassing the name. His mum tried to play both sides, loving but silent. Like she couldn't quite choose between her son and her husband. That broke him a little. He stopped sleeping. He stopped smiling for real. Until one night, I found him in my driveway at 1:20 in the morning. Hoodie on, soaked from the rain, just standing there like he had nowhere else to go. I pulled him inside, dried his hair with a towel, wrapped him in a blanket, and he just sat on the couch, head down, voice shaking. "Why is this so hard, Tanner? Why does it feel like I'm paying for something that should be good?" I sat beside him and didn't say anything for a while. Then, I whispered, "Because some people fear what they don't understand, but we're not here to make them comfortable. We're here to live." His eyes welled up. "I'm so damn tired of apologizing for who I am." I touched his face gently. "You don't owe anyone anything." That night, he fell asleep in my arms, and when I looked down at him, messy, quiet, fragile, I realized I'd never loved someone like that before, not just for the good parts, but for the parts they tried to hide, the broken corners, the weight they carried when no one was watching. A future that doesn't feel like hiding came around more than I expected. He'd bring over food, crash on the couch with us during movie nights. Sometimes he'd even sit beside Cam and ask him how school was going. Like nothing had changed. One night, I asked him why. "Why are you being so cool about all this now?" He shrugged, sipping his drink. "Because I know who Camden is. I know he's not using you. I know he'd take a hit for you before he'd let you fall. And because I trust you both." He paused, then added with a smirk, "Also, it's hilarious watching the guy who used to flirt with anything in a skirt practically melt every time you walk into a room." I laughed. So did Cam. Graduation came fast. We walked the stage, threw our caps in the air. Camden kissed me behind the gym afterward, still in his gown, grinning like a little kid. "You know what I want?" he whispered. "What?" "A future that doesn't feel like hiding." So, we made a plan. Cam got into a college 2 hours away. I wasn't far behind. We didn't move in together right away. We gave ourselves space to grow, to breathe. But we stayed close. We shared weekends, shared coffee in old diners, shared slow Sunday mornings in his dorm bed with tangled sheets and no alarms. We kept sketchbooks. Mine was full of him. Half-drawn smiles, lazy eyes, freckled shoulders. His was full of words. Camden never wrote before, but now he did. Messy letters, late-night thoughts, little moments he didn't want to forget. One entry read, "He fell asleep on my chest tonight. I could feel his breath slow. I used to think love was loud and wild. But now, I know sometimes it's just quiet, safe. Like the world finally stopped spinning." I cried when I read that one. One summer night, back at the lake where it all began, we lay on the dock, staring up at the stars. The water lapped gently beneath us. The same sky, but everything had changed. Cam turned his head toward me. "Do you ever wish we could go back?" I thought about it. All the fear, all the pain, all the almosts. Then I shook my head. No, because back then, we were pretending. Now we're real. He smiled softly. I like real, and in that moment, his hand and mine, summer air around us, stars above. And peace inside, I knew he was never just my brother's best friend. He was my first love. My safe place. My choice. And I would choose him again, every time. I didn't plan to fall for him, but I'd do it again in every lifetime. If you made it this far, please subscribe for more real stories like this one. You being here means everything. Love.